We're alive. We're alive. We're alive. Hey, everybody. While we wait for folks to get on the line, and before we get started, I have a couple of announcements. All right. First of all, if you know where I got this jersey from, then you know the site of our 2027 Juneteenth Legacy Conference. So drop the location and your Cash App in the comments, and after 24 hours, everyone who's already in there and gets it right will be entered into a drawing to win a small cash gift from me to you. So drop your, if you know where this jersey is from, drop your Cash App and your answer in the comments. You got 24 hours to do so. All right. My second one, this is tough for me to talk about. This is hard for me to talk about, but it's even harder when I got a little guy trying to get my attention. Come here. Now, you know, a requirement of you being in here with me today was that you needed to be still and quiet. Okay, come here. Come here. You want to say hi to everybody? You're such a sleepy boy. Hi, everybody. Where what? No, you're not supposed to tell them where my jersey's from. Go sit down. Go sit down. I know, but you want to get that money, don't you?
Can I see it after?
No. Oh, you mean after the class?
Yeah.
Okay, no more talking. You have any issues, you go out there and ask Dad to help you. Got it? Quietly. Don't slam the door on my broadcast. All right. Sorry, y'all. Okay, what was I saying? Okay. Announcements. Okay. The second announcement is kind of exciting, okay, because we have a new sponsor. But to tell you about the new sponsor, I got to tell you something that's tough for me to talk about, right? Like, I don't like to talk about my failures. I don't like to talk about areas that may not be failure, but maybe I come up short. You know, you're a leader. You do what you can. You make it happen. You make it work. But you and I both know when we lay our heads on the pillow at night, there's a lot of areas that we didn't come up short. And we done come up short, and despite all of our best efforts, right? Okay. So in my case, a lot of us, we are working hard to build wealth and to create a better life for ourselves and for our families. And we work so hard, right? You work so hard. And sometimes you feel like you have to sacrifice your health just to get ahead. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a trainer, I'm not a therapist, but you know what? Sometimes I found that no matter how clean I eat, no matter how hard I work out, it seems like it's just never enough, you know? And it's so frustrating. And so let me tell you what I learned. And I learned this due to our new sponsor. My body was not absorbing the nutrients from that clean and very expensive diet that I've been eating. Okay. So I wasn't making things worse, but I wasn't getting better. And so I recently found out about this new company. They have found a way to maximize our human potential, our body's potential, by using AI to isolate the kind of peptides that help with focus and metabolism and muscle building. And so this is not new science of using peptides. Okay. So, you know, think about that, the weight loss shot with all the bad side effects that everybody has. They've been knowing how to create these peptides in the lab. What they hadn't known was how to get the same effect using bioavailable oral products. So basically supplements that you can take easily without all the side effects, natural based supplements that don't have a lot of the ick that makes us sick when we take other supplements. So they were able to isolate, you know, our metabolism, muscle building, how to calm down, and they figured out how to make it all, not in the lab, but with bioavailable ingredients. So instead of a $500 a month weight loss shot that makes you crazy and tears up your inside, now you're taking a supplement that's a fraction of that cost and it's from natural sources and consistent with cleaning. Like, I have a whole sheet on all the things that cause us trouble in our gut and our neurology that are not included in these supplements, right? We have to take our health into our own hands, okay? Too many others profit off of us being sick. And plus, this is why it's important to me as a financial planner. You want to have vibrant health and strength to enjoy the life that you have worked so hard to create. So I hope you'll join me in taking charge of your health with these new bioavailable peptides from Make Wellness. This company literally just soft launched, and they are one of our show sponsors. Okay, they just soft launched their first 6 supplements, and they will soon unveil a social selling kind of component if that's something that interests you. But honestly, whether or not that's something that interests you, right now, if you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you are doing everything that you can do, and it's just not enough, I want you to give it a try. Okay, I'm going to put it in the comments. It's you can go now to jclink.com/make for Make Wellness. Okay, let me go ahead and put that in the chat. And it's already on my screen here, but I'm going to put it on there a little bigger. So let me put that on there a little bigger. That's not much bigger, but it's got my pretty face there. Okay. So I'm gonna put that there in the comments, okay? And I'll be honest, okay? The products drop every Tuesday. The ones I really want you to get, the fit, the fit, the lean, the metabolism, the energize, they all sell out like before Tuesday's over, okay? But just try it, okay? If you just do 3 products, you will actually get access to $1,200 worth of free coaching in the 12 weeks to fit challenge, okay? There's one for women that I'm involved in. There's also one for men that I'm not involved in, but I can send you to, okay? Just 3 products, and you get access to $1,200 worth of coaching in this challenge. You get the 30-something page book, and it's not one of those fluff page books where it's all like a bunch of lines, and they call that a page. Wait, because I've done it too, call it a page, right? It's a whole challenge with workouts, mindset, the whole shebang. And I guarantee you, even if, no, I'm not even going to say that. You do what this challenge is telling you to do, you will not gain weight through Christmas. How's that? All right. Y'all know I do the no sugar between Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I'm adding this because not only do I want to keep from gaining any weight, that's what I normally do, is I don't gain weight anymore at the holiday season because of the no sugar. But now I want to improve my health. Y'all know I'm on this 50 by 50 journey. I'm 20 pounds down. I got 5 more months to go to get that, 6 more months to go to get those other 30 pounds off, and we are in it, okay? And while I'm just beginning on this journey, honestly, and I don't have the results that I eventually expect to share with you, I've been watching everybody else, and I know one thing: when we're in it together, we get more better together than we will on our own. So join me in this challenge. I know it seems strange for a financial planner to be talking about fitness, but I know that for me, having the strength to go do what I do, having the strength to sit, I'm on the Stephenville Board of Adjustment. We had that meeting today. Having the mental capacity to sit there in that city council office with my name down there as the vice chair for Board of Adjustment, I wouldn't be able to do that without the quality supplements and the healing that I've been able to bring into my life. Okay. And so I'm trying to take my life to the next level. And it's so important for us to maintain our health even while we're trying to build our wealth. All right. So that is jjclink.com/make, jjclink.com/make. Okay. Last announcement, and then we'll get into it. The Women's Wealth Tour will be 2 to 5 p.m. on Harbor Island, Florida. We're still bidding out the page. I expect it to be done tomorrow. You can purchase your tickets. And if you have something powerful that you want to share to help our ladies break free of the past and build wealth for the future, then come speak. There's not going to be any charge to speak, but it is going to be first come, first served. Okay. There will be a charge to vend, but there's no charge to speak. So get on my speakers list, jjclink.com/speakers. And that way you'll be able to get on the list, because these slots will fill up. Everybody, listen, Linda. If you want to become a speaker, okay, if you want to become a professional speaker, what is one of the number one things you got to have in your toolkit? You got to have footage of you speaking, not just photos, not just perfectly staged and photoshopped on top of an audience, but actual, no kidding, video with you up on a stage in front of an audience, and the audience is going crazy over what you're saying. Okay. And if you don't have that yet, if you're an emergency speaker and you don't have that yet, you need to be on my stage. If you can get to Tampa, you need to be on my stage. Now, I understand in the time of the pandemic, we did both a virtual and a physical component. But back before the pandemic, it was only physical. And I love it, y'all. I love the virtual component. But the problem is we are so conditioned to play the virtual while we are multitasking that sometimes we don't actually implement what we're learning in the virtual. And while my virtual events do have upwards of 6 to 10,000 views, so those speakers are getting real exposure. I mean, you can't pay rent with exposures. Okay, so if you didn't know that, you can't pay rent without exposures, but a lot of exposures can help you earn money to pay the rent. All right, but so they got exposure. But I just feel like if you are trying to make an impact on someone's life, the best impact you're going to make on somebody's life is when they pull out that debit card or they pull out that cash, or for some of y'all, pull out the credit card. Y'all know I get a little concerned about somebody with their credit cards running up all them fees. Pay it off every month, all right? But if you pull out that money and you put that money on the table, now you are invested. And I find that a higher percentage get invested in person and actually make very real change in their lives than somebody who does, like I admit I sometimes do, have it playing in the background while you're cooking dinner and while you're cleaning the house. Okay. So we're going to try this in Tampa. We're going to try just doing a personal event like we used to do. And I want to see if the conversations are going to be richer, if the audience is going to take greater action, whether they sign up for a free thing or they sign up for a paid thing. Are they actually doing the thing? Are they actually taking action in their lives? Are they making the changes they need to make so that the next time the conference comes around, they can be like, wow, this was such a blessing. Not, wow, that was great filler while I was picking up my kid. Okay. And I'm not saying it. There's no shade, no pettiness. I'm not Petty Crocker up in here. All right. I'm talking about what I do. And I had to realize that it is much harder for me to be in the moment and be present. I mean, really be present and receive from the speakers when I am just listening. Now, if you are just listening in the background, don't turn me off. Keep me playing. All right. Keep me playing. But I encourage you to be with us in Tampa. And we are going to start doing these women's wealth tours at least once a quarter. As people sign up for our new academy, we're going to have quarterly meetings around the nation. And they're going to be these intimate sessions where you are going to be able to, no kidding, talk to people who are doing the thing you want to do. Real life real estate investors who are investing without debt. Real life full-time entrepreneurs whose businesses are making enough money to pay their bills. Real life people who are making an impact in the nonprofit space and who are making a difference in the lives all around them and getting paid to do it. All right. That's what you're going to get at the Women's Wealth Tour. And so excited. All right. Let's see. I still don't see any comments on my jersey, and I'm purposely going to put the so you can't really see it very clearly because I want you to watch. I want you to be present. I want you to be engaged. But if you're watching me after the fact, go to the beginning and you'll see the whole jersey. Okay. You might be able to see something with my patches. All right. So today, so let's get started for real. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our Think and Grow Rich class. I'm JJ Conway, financial planner, pastor, speaker. I should have said pastor first. Pastor, financial planner, and speaker. And I am delighted that you have chosen to join us in this program today. Now, if this is your first class with me, don't worry. We've already been doing this for a couple weeks now, but you can still get a good discount on the entire course, including the behind the scenes lessons at the link jjclink.com/TAGR5 for Think and Grow Rich 5, because it's the 5th year I'm doing it. It's actually like the 7th or 8th year, but I think the first couple of years when I tried to teach it at my church, I hadn't really internalized it the way I meant to. You know what they say, actually, when I was teaching at Air University, you might find this interesting if you are a speaker, trainer, or coach. And this is part of why I recommend that emerging speaker, trainers, and coaches speak, train, and well, you can't really coach without an audience. Okay. So speakers and trainers, you can come to the group coaching and you can practice coaching. Okay. Every first Tuesday at 11 Central. But speakers and trainers, especially, even if it's to an empty room, deliver your content. Deliver your content, get good at your content, memorize your content so that you are free to adjust to the audience in the moment and you're not worrying about having to recall your content and make sure you hit your points. Okay. You get that content down and then you can move forward. But the what we used to say at Air University is the number one product we were creating was not the student, it was the teacher. Because the instructors teaching those officership lessons, those leadership lessons, those military history lessons over and over and over again became better Air Force officers. And it's the same for me and it's the same for you, okay? So if you have a question, be sure to submit it in the comments or ask via the form at askjjclink.com. No. That's the wrong, I'm mixing it all up. Okay, let me say that again. If you have a question, drop it in the comments, whichever side of the screen your comments are on, drop it in the comments, or you can use the anonymous form at askjjc.com. It takes you to a Google form, and that way you can ask your questions or you can drop them in the chat. Your time is your most precious resource. And so whether you're listening to me live or listening to the recording, I am honored and humbled that you chose to spend your time with me. Some of you will listen to this as part of the Ladies of Wealth podcast after we're done recording live. I encourage you to join us live every Thursday night for another great lesson on wealth building, real estate investing. Right now, we're in the series on Think and Grow Rich, okay? I mean, you might be feeling like, wow, JJ, this is a lot of stuff. I'll never be able to listen to it all. That's okay. Take it one day at a time. Get in the course, okay? And download the MP3s and listen to them while you go walking or while you're driving. It's suitable for kids. There's, other than the lesson on transmutation of sexual energy, there's nothing that's not appropriate for kids. And my kids have both sat through that lesson. Probably someone's going to call me a bad mother, but you know what? At least they've learned the lessons. Actually, I think the little one's been asleep when I've recorded that. I don't think I've recorded that around the little one, but I know my big one's heard it because I feel like these are important lessons for a young man to know. Not to spend all of his energy on things that could ruin his life later, but to spend that energy until he gets married on things that will further his life. Okay. Take that energy, transmute it, turn it into something else. Okay. I did not mean to say all that today, but you know what? I said it. It's true. All right. Anybody who's in the professional speaking or motivational speaking space, even in preaching, y'all, they used to teach that in the intro to preaching class. They stopped teaching it in the intro to preaching class with the first class that had women in it. And it wasn't like they barred women for taking it. It's just the first couple of classes were men. Okay. If you feel like you're overwhelmed by some of this content, let me tell you, the cool thing about it is you will be able to go back 6 months from now and you will be able to watch it and you'll be able to listen to it and you will actually hear it from a higher perspective, a higher level of energy, a higher level of vibration. It's going to be like a whole new thing for you. Okay. Even if you're able to listen to it now, I wholeheartedly encourage you to go back and listen to these lessons in 6 months and you'll see just how far you've come on your journey. Because it'll sound completely different, okay? You'll be at a higher level of awareness, all right? And so it's yours for the rest of your life. Download those MP3s, listen to them, all right? And you can get the videos too, but I mean, like, I tend to listen. I tend not to watch. I tend to listen. I put them in my earbuds while I'm driving across these Texas back roads. I put them in, and while I'm walking, when I'm not making my own walking videos, things like that, okay? So every one of them has an audio and a video, all right? Okay, let's see. Where do we want to start? Okay, let's get into the actual lesson tonight. Oh boy. I did not want to do this lesson. I did not want to do this lesson in public. This is actually one of the hardest lessons for me to lead you through You would think it's the chapter on sex, but it's actually not. I'm okay about talking about that, even in a mixed crowd. Like now, the guys may not be okay, right? Like I haven't gotten to Bishop Edwards status where I'll actually preach it from the pulpit, and guys will be like, I can't believe she's saying all that, right? Like she used to, her and Bishop Butler sometimes too. I'm like, the level of confidence in what the Lord is telling you to deliver, to be able to deliver those kind of messages, just totally impresses me, right? So the guys might be a little cringe, but I'm okay with that lesson because it's very true, and you can use those powerful tactics to accomplish more out of life, right? But auto-suggestion, oh y'all, auto-suggestion, that's some really squishy ground for a man or woman of God who considers themselves saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost. Okay, so this is a little awkward, but I think it needs to be covered because it is so very powerful, and it really began with biblical principles. Okay, so if you have your book handy, let me get to my book. All right, if you have your book, you know what? Let's start at page, I was going to say turn to page 78. And I've got mine online. So if I'm not looking at you in the camera, it's because I'm looking at the book here. Chapter 4, Autosuggestion. So now if you have a print book, that's not my print version, then it might be a different page. Okay, my print version has the line numbers down the side, and so it's slightly different layout. But actually, no, we're not going to start at that chapter. Let's go back up to page hold on, let me find it. Like that would have been good to find before I started teaching, before I hit go live, right? Okay, let's go to page 36. Okay, and I normally don't want to do this because, let me just be transparent. I want you to buy my book and I want you to buy my course, right? And I can't give everything away for free. I can't give everything away for free. I won't make any money. And then if I'm not making any money, I should be over there snuggling my kid. If I can't get any money, I should be out there in the living room watching something with my husband. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not like this isn't charity. The charity work I do is during the day. This is family time. And my family has agreed for me to have Thursday nights because it results in a benefit for the family. Okay. My oldest was like, I agree to give up my Xbox that needs the internet while you are teaching because we are in rural Texas and the house can't handle both at the same time because I know mama's gonna make money and she's gonna give me a cut. Okay. So but I am gonna go ahead and share with you this screen. I'm not going to share with you the whole book today, but I want you to see this, okay? I feel led to share it with you. So I'm going to trust the Lord. I'm going to step out on faith and believe that this is going to be something that's going to be a blessing to those who need to see it. You know, when I was $800,000 in debt, I wasn't mad at the people that didn't want to give me their stuff for free, but I sure did appreciate the ones who did. Okay, so let's see. I've made that as big as I can make it. Okay, and what we have here is he's talking about the role of desire. Okay, he's talking about the role of desire, and these are the 6 steps that Napoleon Hill gave us for making a desire for wealth into physical, actual abundance. Okay, so sometimes, let me make me big here. Sometimes we say, oh, I want this and I want that. Well, you know what they say, if wishes were fishes, right? And so just wishing it and wanting it and hoping it is not going to make it happen. And at the same time, though, many of us have been conditioned that the way to fulfillment is just to hope and wait and be patient. And yes, biblically, we have to learn to be patient. But biblically, the Lord expects us to take action. You know, the woman whose oil ran out because her husband died penniless and had a whole bunch of debt and left them in a precarious position, even though he was a prophet and should have known better. That woman, when the prophet said, gather up all the oil cruises and jars you can find and pour your one little bitty bit of oil into all those things, she could have been like, well, that's a nice idea, but that ain't never going to work. And she could have sat on her bum and got nowhere. But not only did she have faith to step out and actually do the thing, but she and her sons borrowed so many jars, they couldn't find anybody else with any kind of vessel left. And that little cruise of oil kept pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring. It takes action. But nobody teaches us in school. Well, I don't feel like I'm yelling. I'm not trying to yell at you today because I love you, right? Nobody in school teaches us how to translate desire into action, how to translate desire into physical abundance. And I suspect it's because if all of us knew how to do this, they may be afraid they won't have enough worker bees to pay a pittance and keep working in their lousy factories. Now, the reality is the Bible says the poor you'll have with you always. And I believe that's because some people are not going to give up that poverty mindset. No matter how much you try to pour into them, they are just determined to stay in poverty. Some people are just determined that they are going to be the victim. And some people are just determined that this is it. They'd rather play at a low level than pay the price to play at a higher level. Okay. The poor you will have with you always. All right. But today we want to elevate our lives. We want to make a change. Some of us feel called today to change communities. It takes money and health and strength and connections and resources to change communities. Some of us today feel called to start new ministries that are going to be a blessing for God's people. But guess what new ministries require? They require money and time and health and strength. It doesn't mean it has to all be in your hands, but I'm very thankful that the Lord has already shown me what it is he's going to put in my hands and who I'm going to bless and how I'm going to do it. And it's just, sometimes it just boggles my mind. Like, me? Really? The least of these? Are you kidding? He's got to knock off a few rough edges, I guess. And I'm really trying to learn those lessons now. But so I can, because I don't have as much time left as I did 20 years ago when I accepted my calling into the ministry. But it's not about how amazing you are. It's not what other people think of you. It's about what God thinks of you and what he's called you to. Okay. And for many of us out there today, the Lord has called us to see something even grander than anybody in our life could even imagine for us. Remember what we've said all this time. It's not that some people who tell us to play small just want to keep us from succeeding. There are plenty of people out there that want to keep you from succeeding. But a lot of times, those who are holding us back or encouraging us to hold ourselves back, it's out of the abundance of their care and concern for us that they are telling us to play small. It's not because they just don't want to see us succeed. It's because they don't want to see us fail, and they don't want to see us get hurt, and they don't want to see us get laughed at. And I want to encourage you today to see something higher for your life. See what God has for you. He created you to do something great. He placed greatness in each and every one of us. And so when I show you this, I want you to really get hold of it. Okay? I want you to get hold of it. Get specific about what it is you want. And maybe your goal, maybe your dream is not a monetary dream today. Okay? What I'm going to ask you to do, even if your dream is not a monetary dream, as you walk through this Think and Grow Rich process, I'm going to ask you to get a monetary goal in mind, because a monetary goal is easy to measure. And when you're just starting out in these principles, it's important to have some success that you can definitely point to. I'll never know until I get to heaven just how many millions of people are impacted by what I'm teaching. See, there's hundreds that watch each video, which is great. It's better than the 2 that used to, right? There's hundreds that watch each video. And then there's hundreds more that each of them are impacting in their lives. Sometimes tens, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands. And they're taking what I've taught them and they're going out and spreading that. Who knows how many ripple effects, order of magnitudes out, that ripple effect spreads. And you don't know how many people you could be impacting. So I don't want to use a squishy thing like so many exposures. Can't pay rent with exposure, but exposure can help pay the rent, right? But you know, I want you to get like let's say you feel called to the ministry, and you know that you feel called to a ministry. You need a place to meet. And a lot of libraries don't like religions to come in. A lot of libraries don't like religions to come in, and they don't like finances to come in unless, and this is how I got around it, unless I was teaching against financial scams. That's how I was able to start teaching in libraries, is because I started teaching about financial scams. And I found a library that let me do Bible study, but a lot of them wouldn't. Different places I've lived in, a lot of them wouldn't let you start there. So you're gonna need a place to meet, and that's going to have a monetary cost. So you either need the money, or you need the relationship with somebody who can open up that door for you, right? Well, we can't measure relationship in definite terms. So just pick a goal. You need $500 a month. You need $100 a month for your meeting space. Maybe you want to pass out flyers. Flyers are usually not free. Maybe a local printer will sponsor because they believe in what you're doing and what you're called to do. But maybe you got to do like I do and pay $25 a month for your flyers. Whatever it is, add up the cost and come up with a monetary amount. If you're in business and you want to make $1 million every year, break that down to how much you got to make every month. Break that down. Now people say a lot of things, but I'm like, you know what? You ought to save some for taxes. So if you want to make $1 million a year, I'm going to encourage you to say not what is it, like 67,000 a month, but go for 100,000 a month, because you're going to need 2 months for taxes, right? Probably more. But if you've got a good accountant, you can get some tax deductions. All right. We plan on 100,000 a month. Well, what's 100,000 a month? 25,000 a week. What's 25,000 a week? Oh, that's too big of a number. I can't do that. There are plenty of people out there who don't even deserve it. Now, I shouldn't say they don't deserve it, but that aren't doing God's work, that make $1 million a year. Okay? And so I want to encourage you to calculate it out, what you want. Some of you today, let me see what you say. Some of you today don't even need $1 million a year. You don't need $100,000 a month. You don't need $80,000 a month. You know what you just need? You need a little at the end of the month. You need to be able to make it to the next paycheck with a little something left over in your bank. $2,000, $1,000, $500 extra dollars a month would be life-changing for some of you today. Don't be discouraged by what you don't have. Get the vision and make it plain. And that's why I'm asking you, even if your vision, your dream, your goal is a non-monetary goal, there's a financial component to it. And I want you to visualize that financial component, and I want you to write it down. Even if people are donating to your cause, there's a monetary value of that donation. Okay? All right. Okay. So the very first thing is to be definite as to the amount. Okay? And we are going to talk about definiteness of purpose later. Okay, there's a very real psychological reason for that definiteness. Okay, number 2, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. This is where a lot of entrepreneurs fall short, especially those who are interested in training, speaking, and especially coaching. Because this is what I hear from a lot of people. I want the kind of wealthy clients that are going to pay me big money to do nothing for them. And if a client wants too much effort out of me, I fire them. And I think to myself, well, okay, I fire difficult clients too. I fire them. I don't renew their contract. I give them a pause on their, I give good people a pause on their payments too. But if somebody's really antagonistic, then I'm just like, I think I'm not the best fit for you at this season of life. Let's pause your payments for now, and you can come back to me later after you've worked with, I have some recommendations or something like that, right? Fire clients all the time because you're not doing the work. I don't want to work with people who aren't doing the work, right? But I'm really sounding mean today. I promise. If you don't know me, I can be critical and I can be direct, but I love you. If you're gonna take the time to listen to what I have to say, I love you. Okay. And I just want to see you succeed. Okay. But you want to be clear about what you want to give. And I find that too many people, they just want to make money doing nothing. People get up and testify in church. Oh, the Lord blessed me with this job, and or they'll pray for me, y'all. I've got this job interview coming up, and I want to get this good government job so I can go get paid to do nothing all day. Or I had people apply to work in my offices or in my units, and I was like, I thought to myself, I remember the last job you were on. You got fired because you weren't doing your job because you thought your job was to show up and do nothing and look good. Like, I don't need that in my life, and I don't need to strain the relationship either. So you're not going to work for me. Now, I don't ever say that out loud, but if they watch my videos now, they know why I never hired them. But they probably don't watch my videos. But but I get a lot of people who want to speak at my events. And back when I used to interview before every speaker, like now I'll interview for the people that I'm paying, right? But if you're just coming on the podcast, I'll interview you for the podcast. And if it doesn't work, it took me just as long to interview you for the podcast as it would have done to pre-qualify you. So really, I've saved myself some time because now I haven't had to listen to you tell me what you think is the right answer versus, just do the thing. And most of the time I'm doing the thing. And so most of the time the pre-interviews were great content anyway. So I just scrapped that, right? But back when I used to do that, because I was scared, I was just so scared. I was operating from a position of fear. And I was so scared to share my platform with anybody else. And what I didn't realize is that by holding everything in, I was failing to receive. Because you can't receive when you're holding everything too tight. It's only when you let go and you release what you've been given out into the world that now your hands are empty and open for you to receive more. Okay. And so I used to ask this question. I used to say, well, why do you want to be a speaker? What is it about speaking that appeals to you? And 9 out of 10 people would be like, I just want to get paid. It looks like an easy way to get paid. And I hate to break it to you, but professional speaking is not an easy way to get paid. It is absolutely by hands down the most fun way I make money other than coaching people one-on-one. Absolutely. No doubt about it. The most fun you'll ever have. But it took me a lot of work to get to where I can comfortably ask for $10 to $15 to $20,000 for a keynote or for a workshop. It took a lot of work for me to get to this point. It's not just to set it. It's just not just to push the easy button and go. Okay. It's not how that works. Honey, sit upright so you don't get a crick in your neck. Okay. I know you're sleepy. I'm so glad you're in here with me though, but you can go back to your bed at any time. Okay. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I just noticed my son like leaned all the way over there and I don't want him to have a crick in his neck. Tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow's a big day. Okay. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. Speaking. So I would ask people, why do you want to speak? And it's almost always, well, because it's an easy way to make money and I don't want to work hard. And I'm like, yeah, not a, and then I've actually told one guy to his face, you're not a good fit because that's a wrong answer. And now I just put it in my pre content. Hey, we're looking for people who want to change the world. So I put that in there. We want to be definite about what it is we're willing to do and to give up. There is no such thing as something for nothing. There is always a cost. And it's either pay now or pay later, but at some point you're going to pay. All right. So first, be definite as to the monetary amount that you want. Second, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. Third, establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. So like in the ministry case, okay, I want to open this ministry. I feel the Lord is leading me to open this ministry by XYZ date. This is how much I need. This is what resources I need to open this up. And you put a date and you make it plain. You write it down, you write the vision and you make it plain. Number 4, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not. Ready or not, here I come. Ready or not, here I come. All right. 5th, Write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. And then finally, and this is one of the most important things, you read your written statement aloud twice daily, once before going to bed and then once after waking up in the morning. As you read it, see it, feel it, believe in yourself that you are already in possession of this money, of this goal. And if you do that, this is one very simple way of autosuggestion, of reprogramming your mind to stifle all those negative voices that tell you can't do it and start tuning into the positive voices, especially the voice of the Lord that says you can and you shall. All right, now let's go back to page 78. Let me go back to page 78, and that's the start of our chapter on autosuggestion. Oops, I went too far. See, I said this last week and then I took no action, that I need to just go ahead and order some to keep here, even though I took everything to my office. And then I went to my office and there was only one in there. I'd sold all the rest of them and totally forgot, right? Like I need those for my conference in Florida. Okay, so chapter 4, autosuggestion. The medium for influencing the subconscious mind, the third step towards riches. Okay, so you'll see here that Hill notes how we are supposed to write down our goal, read it out loud twice a day, not just read visual, but actually engage everything. Because by doing these different modalities, you're reading it with your eyes, you're speaking it with your mouth. Now you are reinforcing what's going on all the different sensual planes, not sensual as in sexual, but sensual as in touch, taste, hearing. Okay. Not taste. I must be a little tired, right? We want to see ourselves clearly in possession of this goal. We do that through imagination. Okay. And this is how we communicate our desire directly to our subconscious mind in the spirit of absolute faith. Okay. So no thought, line 10, no thought, whether it be negative or positive, can enter the subconscious mind without the aid of the principle of autosuggestion, with the exception of thoughts picked up from the ether. And what he means by that, what Napoleon Hill means by that is what you're picking up from God. Now, he doesn't call it God. I don't know if he actually intended for God. He might be doing like a lot of business people do when they say source or the grand overall designer, because we don't really mean God, but we don't want you to think we don't mean God, because we know you won't buy our stuff if you think we don't mean God. Okay. Let me go ahead and go back to mute. How did I get on mute? Okay, now I'm off mute. Okay, so no thought. So you find that very interesting, because you'll find in the next you'll find that we've been given dominion over all things. We can decide what's going to be in our brain, but the problem is our subconscious mind is not the same as our thinking mind, and our subconscious mind is ruled by emotion. All right, so at the top of the next page, where is it? Okay. At the top of the next page, he says that plain, unemotional words don't influence the subconscious mind. You're not going to get any appreciable results until you learn to reach the subconscious mind with thoughts or spoken words which have been emotionalized with belief. That's why really believing what you're reading while you're reading it is so important. That's why, for those of you who share my faith and are members of my church, in Introduction to Preaching, we were told that the most effective sermons are those that celebrate at the end of the sermon. You have delivered biblical content in your teaching portion of your sermon, and now you are driving it home emotionally with the celebration or the hoop or the holler that the preacher does at the end of the sermon. Okay, it's so powerful. In fact, I used to think all that stuff was a waste of time because I don't care for that style of delivery. I prefer a more intellectual style of delivery, and I'm the kind of person that will respond and make the changes without the hooping and hollering. But at some point, you have to realize, you know, if you want to get something done, and the way you get it done isn't working for everybody else, at the end of the day, you got to do what works for everybody else. And what I found out is once I began to actually mix some emotion with the words, now it has more effective change in the subconscious of those who willingly receive it. Okay, so in this instance, we have a goal, we have a thing we've been called to do, we have a business we feel led to build, we want to build great wealth, and we want to transform our family's financial tree, right? And all these voices from our past, you're not good enough, who you think you are, get off your high horse, don't rock the boat. All of those voices from our childhood are clawing back with the emotion of whoever put them in us, and we think if we just had enough willpower, we could muscle through it and get it done. And some people have more willpower than others, but none of us have enough willpower to overcome all that because you're not actually changing the source of it, which is your subconscious, your emotional subconscious. Okay, so let me flip over to page 83. Is it 83 or 82? All right. All right. He's given examples. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, page 83. And you can get this book on Amazon, by the way. And if you go to jjclink.com, jjclink.com/DAGR5, you'll see a free lesson that gives you the link to buy the book on Amazon. Okay. But if you buy the lesson, you get the electronic version that I'm using right now. You get that absolutely at no charge. It's totally included in the course. The electronic version is. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. This is key. This is line 181. All right. You are now reading the chapter which represents the keystone to the arch of this philosophy. The instructions contained in this chapter must be understood and applied with persistence if you succeed in transmuting desire into money. So, okay, this chapter, 7.5 pages, all right? It's the shortest chapter in the book, and he's saying this is the keystone of the philosophy, okay? So I think it's really, really worth paying attention to this chapter, and because it's so short, it's kind of easy to overlook it, right? Like I read it several times, and he recommends you read it over and over, but I read it, and I was just like, because this idea of autosuggestion intrigued me. Is it about how I can reprogram my mind? But it also scared me because in today's world, when people say autosuggestion, what they really mean is hypnosis, which is a little squishy and uncomfortable for God's servants. And the thing is, we got to understand that the way that this universe was created by the Creator, who I call God, has certain immutable laws and certain things that just work. And if you work them the way according to the natural laws that God created, then they will work for you. Okay. And so one of those things is we are not just able to get rid of our old programming. It just doesn't go away. You don't just think it away. You don't just decide that energy is gone. That doesn't work. That old programming is energy and it never goes away. Energy cannot be destroyed. Now, unless the Lord clean takes it away, okay, now we're always going to have this voice, unless the Lord takes it away. We are always going to have this voice of self-judgment, and we're always going to be susceptible to this voice of negativity, this voice that reminds us of all our failures. That energy doesn't go away. It does not go away. It has to be changed. It has to be changed. Hoffer wrote that no matter our achievements may be, we think well of ourselves only in rare moments. And that we need other people to convince us that we're not as bad as we think we are. Okay? We have an inner judge that keeps a book of our shortcomings and our transgressions. Anybody else got an inner book that keeps charge of your shortcomings and transgressions? Huh? That's why I highly recommend that everybody come up with a success timeline where you're basically, oh, y'all can't see that. Y'all can't, oh, look, well, you can't see that because of the wrong page. Okay, I recommend that everybody comes up with a success timeline. Oh, that's the wrong folder. No wonder. Never mind. Okay, I got the wrong folder. It's in my other bag. But a success speaker failed. Okay, blooper. All right. Our mentality keeps this running log of our transgressions and shortcomings. And one of the reasons that I recommend that people who are especially going through this course, the self-image course, the authentic abundance course, that you keep a success timeline, okay, of all the accomplishments that you have done. And yes, we give all honor and glory to the Lord, but keep a timeline. So that when life gets you down, you can open up your timeline when you have the right notebook with you, and you can say, no, you know what? I feel down now. I'm not sure I can do this now, but I didn't know I could do that either. And it happened. I didn't know I could do that either, but the Lord sent the right resources at the right time. I didn't know I was going to be able to pull this off, but somehow the money found its way to my hand. Okay. And so I went down that path of all of the shortcomings and transgressions until the Lord filled my heart with his love for real. Because no matter what I did, it was never good enough to quiet that inner voice. And some of you have been working a long time and you haven't been able to quiet that inner voice. What you're learning today will help you quiet that inner voice as you transmute the energy, as you put more energy and more emotion into the things you want out of life. It'll diminish the emotion of the things that you don't. So before we go on, let's touch back on this idea of how do we find our purpose? What are we interested in? Okay. We develop our gifts and talents. We get this passion. We get passion filled, and it starts to flow through us. And passion is an energy, and energy is an emotion, and passion is an emotion, and emotion is energy in motion. And you begin to carry out that, right? When it comes as you see in this chapter. So please read the chapter, right? It's only 7.5 pages, okay? But, to kind of put the cookies on the bottom shelf, I want to share the teachings of Dr. Fleet in its simplest form, okay? This comes from Dr. Thurman Fleet, okay? And I started off trying to draw this a little bit last time. Hopefully I did an okay job. He was out of San Antonio, Texas. He's since passed on, all right? He gets this idea of concept therapy, he says, from God. And it happens, I think it's like 1932 or something, right? He goes publicly and starts teaching it in 1937, which is when this book comes out. So when this book comes out, okay, so again, it's just kind of how the perfect timing. God just put this together. You've got Dr. Thurman Fleet introducing the world of concept therapy. You got Napoleon Hill introducing Think and Grow Rich. And this is at a time in America where we were going through one of the worst financial times in history. And so all this teaching here comes from concept therapy. And here's the thing. Dr. Fleet was a chiropractor. Like the class we're going to do at the beginning of the year, we're going to go through psychocybernetics, Maxwell Maltz. He was a plastic surgeon. Neither one of these dudes ever intended for their work to really be used for the manifestation of wealth or business. It was truly for health, but it worked. Okay. They wanted people to understand how the mind works so that they could heal themselves. Again, Thurman Fleet was a chiropractor involved in the healing arts. And so this teaching comes from him. It's been adapted over time by a lot of others who've taken the work, added to it, and it's kind of grown and expanded. But basically, you know what, rather than just do this one, because I have the rest of the lesson that I did this on, I'm just going to draw a new one, okay? So basically, he drew a big circle, and he said, let that represent your mind. And then he drew a stick body, and arms. And that's why they call it the stick man, okay? So some of you have seen this before, but it's good at repeating. He said, let that represent your body, okay? And it wasn't that he was a bad artist, right? But the purpose of the image being this way is he's saying everything is really in our mind. Everything is mind. It's mind, okay? And so most people, when we get an image of mind, we're thinking of an image of the brain. And we think our brain inside this hard shell is our mind. It's really not. The brain is the organ. The brain is the organ. And it's the chemical and electric switching station. That's the brain. The mind is really the activity that's found in every cell of your being. It's the expression of thoughts. So this is why you can be thinking about something like, let's say, embarrassing, right? And your cheeks turn red. The thought is expressed through your mind. Your mind isn't just your brain. The mind is the activity that takes place in communication and causes your internal vibrations to change and alter in response to what you're thinking. So the mind is that vibrational energy and frequency that you're in. It is the expression of those thoughts that you hold. And so you have the stickman. And he says, let's just say, and I'm sure science is going to eventually discover that there's more, but he said in 1937, let's just say there's two parts to the mind, okay? So again, we're putting the cookies on the bottom shelf here, all right? I know there's a lot of different parts to the mind, but that's what he's saying today, all right? Look, let's just say there's two parts to the mind, and let's say that this top part would be our conscious mind, and the bottom part is going to be our subconscious. Now, I'm going to call it subconscious today. I like the way Dr. Shealy does with the non-conscious or other than conscious mind. Okay, I think that's good, but I haven't gotten used to saying that yet. So if you hear me alternate in between terms, I'm talking about the subconscious. We got our conscious mind and we got our subconscious mind. Okay. They are two very different parts, and we did talk about this in another lesson. Okay, so I'm going to flash this really quick. It's just going to do a drive-by. So if you were on that lesson, you know where I'm going with this. Woo! Okay, all right. So we talked about this in one of our other lessons. If you didn't see that lesson, you need to get in the course so you can get that lesson because it's very powerful. Okay, so this top is our thinking mind. This is our thinking, and in our conscious mind, we can think, right? And now look. Just because we can think doesn't mean we do think. Okay. And I'm not saying that to be cute, right? I say that because what most people call thinking is actually just mental activity. What most people are really doing, they are thinking yesterday's thoughts. They are overhearing other people's opinions and just regurgitating them. And that's not really thinking. Okay. What I'm talking about today is creative thought. Thinking, creating, imagining, being able to think beyond your current conditions and circumstances into something new and something creative and something desirable and something elevated. In your conscious mind, you can think, and it's where your awareness lies. Your subconscious mind really is your feeling mind. It's your feeling mind. It's your emotional mind. Okay. So I'm going to write think. Wait. I'm going to write think. Oh, no, you can't see that blue very well. All right, let's try a different color again. I'm going to write think. And I'm going to write feel. Okay? I'm going to write think and feel. All right? So it's your feeling mind, your emotional mind. And in your subconscious mind, this is where your self-image is. This is where your self-esteem lies. And there's a big difference between your self-image and your self-esteem, okay? Your self-image is the image you see of yourself into the world, how you see yourself interacting with your world, what your self-belief is of you. Your self-esteem is the value, your perception of your worthiness, okay? How I value me is self-esteem. Those are two separate things, okay? The culmination of all of that together is what we call our self-belief. And our self-belief is it creates what we call a belief system. And oftentimes our capital B, capital S belief system is just that. It's BS. Belief system very well can be BS. Okay. Now look, you have You have the ability to think negatively or positively. You can make that choice in your conscious mind. We have been given what's called free will. You get to choose whatever it is that you want to choose. You can listen to whatever you want. And as a matter of fact, we gain access through the outside world, through these little antennae, okay? And I'm going to try to draw them here. I tried to draw them another time I was teaching this, and they look like devil horns. So we don't want to pretend, we don't want to confuse the issue here, okay? But these represent our 5 senses, okay? We have the ability to, maybe I should do more than just 2, but I don't have enough room and time as I'm talking to do that. So we have these 2 that I'm drawing here, but really there's 5. I could do 5 for the 5 senses, okay? Our ability to see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. We gather information from our outside world using our physical senses, and then we can think and form an opinion. Now, oftentimes when we form an opinion and we begin to think about something, if that thought is not in harmony with what our belief system is, then guess what we do? We reject the idea. Now we'll talk ourselves right out of it that quick because it doesn't meet our belief system. And what we normally do, y'all, is we look out over all the results we've created. And let's say the person who here is thinking is like kind of like I was about having $1 million a year business, and the results are they're producing a $20,000 a year business. Actually, for many people right now in today's economy, if you're producing a $20,000 a year business on your pathway to being able to quit your day job, you're actually doing pretty well, and we can help you take that all the way to you being a full-time entrepreneur. All right. But let's say they got a $20,000 a year business. All right. They're down here at 20,000. And the person will have the thought, oh, I could have $1 million a year. And they will look at the outside world and they will come to the logical conclusion based on their belief system that they are never going to be able to do that. And therefore they reject the idea that quick. Most people's ideas and full potential are dead on arrival. They never even had a chance to get the life breathed into those dreams. And so it's important for us to understand that any idea we have in our conscious mind, we can impregnate this idea into our subconscious mind over and over and over and over and over again through the process of repetition. That's why in the 6 steps to translating desire into physical abundance, he says, read it twice a day, read it out loud. And that process of doing that, of repeating it over and over and impregnating that idea into the subconscious feeling mind, that's what autosuggestion is. So yes, hypnosis is a form of autosuggestion, but please don't let that scare you from implementing this technique in your life. Now, the most important thing, well, not most important thing, but an important thing, because everything's the most important thing, right? The important thing for us to understand right now is that your subconscious mind doesn't have any ability to reject the idea. See, up here, when you have the idea for the $1 million, well, you can begin to reason because you're thinking. You can begin to reason all the reasons why it won't work. And you can begin to reason why it could work, but you could have this $1 million idea and you can go out and see, and you can hear and smell and taste and touch and experience and meet people to gather new ideas and new belief systems about this idea. You can work with people to do that. You can work with this idea in your conscious thinking mind. You can reject it, but you could work with it. But once it reaches your subconscious mind, that's it. It becomes fixed. Once it becomes fixed, you have no ability to reject the idea. As a matter of fact, your subconscious mind believes anything that's impregnated into it. It believes it as it was the gospel truth. It truly is your belief system. Now, if you think about this, okay, think about this with me. Don't leave me yet. Think about this with me. There was a time in your life where you really didn't have conscious awareness. You didn't even have, this wasn't fully developed yet. You didn't have the ability to reason. And so when you were brought onto the scene, your mom and dad created you, and here you come. You come onto the scene, you have really no conscious awareness. You have no ability to think of for yourself. You have no ability to reason whether this idea is right or whether that idea is wrong. All the thoughts, all the ideas, all the images that you are exposed to go right into your subconscious mind and you accept them. This is why it's so important to pour into our children before they reach the age of reason, which is about 12 to 13 years, right? This is why a 5-year-old believes in Santa Claus. You tell a 5-year-old there's a big old fat jolly elf who lives at the North Pole with flying reindeer and a bunch of elves who make toys for all the good boys and girls, and he flies all over the world in one day, and they believe it. They accept it. They also believe there's an Easter bunny. Now, many children believe there's an Easter bunny. I grew up believing that if I put a boot outside my door, I would wake up December 6th and Kris Kringle would have filled it with candy and toys. And if he didn't, we'd go around the house looking for our gift. You know, the first year we lived in Germany, someone clued us in on that, including my parents about that. And so maybe the second year too. I don't remember for how long, but I'll never forget the year that the candy didn't come. That boot was empty. So we go downstairs, looking behind the couch, and if it wasn't there, we look behind the curtains, and if it wasn't there, we look under the table, and if it wasn't there, we look in the kitchen, and we would never stop searching. It never even would occur to us to stop searching for it because our belief system told us there was a Kris Kringle and a tooth fairy and an Easter bunny, and belief drives behavior, and we fully expect it. And then, I don't know about y'all, but we're almost devastated when we begin to gain personal responsibility for what we think and our ability to reason, and we begin to gain conscious awareness, and all of a sudden we realize, there's no Santa Claus. And I'm going to suggest to you that just like this idea of Santa Claus that was programmed, it was programmed in your little mind. If you are at all like me, you were probably born into a programming where you were told to clean your plate because there were starving kids in Africa. You were told you can't have that because we just don't have the money. Maybe were told money doesn't grow on trees. Maybe you were told good things come to those who wait. If you're going to get anywhere in life, you got to work really hard. You got to do honest work. You'll never get ahead. You're never going to get ahead unless you have an education. And yet, all of these things that you were programmed to believe, you'll never be able to become rich. You'll never be rich as you're a high school dropout. You'll never be rich. You got a learning disability. You'll never be rich. Your life is ruined. You might, this is what they told me. And it's interesting. My mom made this really nice book of my mom made this really nice book of my upbringing. And she had in the book, my progress reports from 3rd grade all the way up through junior high or something like that. But what she didn't have in there was kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade. There was a time where she was cleaning out her files and she said, "Here, this is yours." And she gave it to me, and it's over here. And I'm not going to get up to go get it because then I'm going to wake up the little one. Okay. But in that is the people who identified that I was slow. They called it slow back then. As in, you're not important enough for us to go get tested to see if you have an actual real learning disability, but we've determined you're not going to be anything out of life. And so, and in there is the teacher saying, if I work really hard, one day I might be able to be a good janitor or a cashier one day. I didn't have all these nice the 3rd grade one, the 4th grade one, they weren't so nice, but at least they weren't saying I was slow. I was a bit of a behavior problem, apparently, but I didn't have the ones with the good grades. I didn't have the ones where the teachers were saying I'm bright. I just wasn't applying myself. I didn't have the ones where the teachers say I was bright and I work hard. I had the ones here that said I was never going to be nothing. And some of you may just have a subset. And it's told you're never going to be anything for the rest of your life. You're just not going to be able to be anything. And the same people that programmed you to believe in the Easter Bunny and programmed you to believe in Santa Claus have programmed you with a whole lot of beliefs about money, about how much money you can make, about how much you're worth, about how much money there is in a particular industry. You were programmed before the age of reason, before you completed this full picture of consciousness, before this consciousness was fully developed and you began to be able to really think, before you even understood how to think, you were programmed ideas about money and your self-worth. And for most people, the ideas that we were programmed around money was around not having enough money. Most of us were not programmed with prosperity consciousness. We were programmed with poverty consciousness. And that idea becomes fixed. And so later in life, when we get into a program or we attend a seminar or we take a class like this, or we read a book and somebody says, you can do, be, and have anything you want, and we get motivated for a minute. But if this idea that we have that comes in is larger than what our current belief system says, oh, you never have enough money. Or what our current results are, look around at my life, we immediately reject the idea. Even though it's something we want to do, even though we want to bring it forward, even though we feel like God had put it on our hearts, we reject it. That'll never work. You know how long that's going to take? You know how long? Oh my goodness. Do you know how long it's going to take me to go back to school? Do you know how old I will be? And it's funny when people say this, I'm like, well, how old would you be if you didn't? You know, you're working with somebody who's 40, right? And they got to go back to school for about 3 years. They're like, yeah, you know how old I would be if I did that? And I'm like, well, yeah, let me think. It's not rocket science, but I think you would be 43, right? But how old would you be if you don't go back to school? You're gonna be 43, God willing, either way. So you might as well go back to school and be what you want to be, do what you want to do, have what you want to have. Now, in addition to our ability to gather information from our outside world, our ability to see, hear, taste, and touch, these are the, like, you know, that's what these are supposed to be, you know. Um, we've been gifted. I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about when I tried to do this in church and it looked like devil horns. we we've been gifted with intellectual faculties. Okay, so we've been gifted with imagination, perception, reason, and memory. Yeah, and memory. And we can use these faculties to enhance the thoughts we have, to elevate the vibrational frequency of that thought. And the brain does not distinguish between what really happened or something vividly imagined. Okay, we talked about imagination in an earlier lesson. So now hear me out. Don't drop off yet. Okay, and we know this works in advance. We know this works. We know this works in our daily lives, because especially if you're in the ministry, every time Sister So-and-so talk about Jesus come to her bedroom when she was praying at midnight, you automatically think to yourself, well, did she forget to take her medicine? So you and I both know as humans, we are really, really good at using these faculties to change the meaning of events or change the memory of what really happened. All I'm asking you to do is to consider harnessing that power for good. If God didn't want us to use the mind's ability to do this, I don't think he would have created us with the mental capacity to do so. See, the devil doesn't create, he corrupts. And somewhere down the line, the enemy corrupted this God-given gift and then made us feel like it's ungodly to use the very gift God created in us to help us have an abundant life. This is a gift God created to help you have an abundant life. It's a God-given gift to be able to take an idea and use our imagination and imagine what it would be like. What would my life be like if I had an extra $1 million? What would it be like to have an extra $1 million a year salary? Where would I go? How would I travel? Who would I travel with? Who would I bless when I get there? What kind of car would I have? Who would I tithe to? Who would I tithe into? What kind of impact could I have in the world? Who could I help? Who could I serve? Who could I bless? Who could I elevate? And so we can imagine, we can actually go to that place. And every time we do that, this part of our mind, the subconscious, cannot tell the difference between what is a real experience and what is an imagined experience. In other words, your subconscious mind can take that mental trip and actually build the memory emotions of a future experience and store them just as real as you have stored the energy emotions of the memory emotions of past experiences. I want you to think about that for a moment, all right? You have the ability to think about what it is you want to be or do or have, and you can actually build a memory emotion in the future of you actually having it in your hand. And if you focus on that, which is actually using the principles of autosuggestion, right? You anchor it into your subconscious mind when you say it to yourself over and over again. And your subconscious mind will accept that idea as though it were real if you charge it with enough emotion. That's why it has to be definite. That's why it has to be detailed. And it will begin to produce in you memory emotions of an unlived, imagined experience. And you will ultimately move your body into a vibrational frequency that is consistent with that memory emotion of what it is you want out of life. What? What? Now, look, before anybody who, if you've not heard of this before, I'm not talking about new agey woo woo stuff here. You know, when you meet somebody in the grocery store, you say to yourself, I got a good vibe from them. I got a good vibe from them. I got a bad vibe from them. That's the energy that's in that they're walking in. And it's the same for you. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're going through, that's the energy you're putting out. So please don't hear when I want you to take the energy you're putting out and make it consistent with the dream. I want you to fill that subconscious with the dream so it'll match, so your energy will match the dream and not match the present circumstances. Okay? Please don't hear what I'm not saying. I am not saying make fake memories. We got enough crazy people out there operating on fake memories, all right? What I am saying, the subconscious mind motivates your conscious brain, and it's mainly a collection of emotions. We're not creating fake memories. We're creating emotions of the future we want, which then influences the conscious brain to believe that it's really possible. And the more you engage this memory emotion, the stronger these you can do it emotions get, and they begin to shrink down all the you're not good enough, the past emotions of when you failed in the past, when someone told you you weren't good enough, when you got stabbed in the back and you felt foolish, when you made a poor decision and you felt all that shame. These feelings of shame and guilt stop us every time until we learn how to tap into this powerful ability to create new memory emotions that help you overcome. So I'm not talking about fake memories, all right? I don't want you to show up at next Thursday's class talk about how you flew on your private jet to your yacht that you traveled on this weekend, okay? But if that's what you want, if you want the private jet and you want the yacht, then what I want for you is to imagine it down to the tiniest details. Really feel what it's like to fly. What does it feel like to cruise? What are you wearing? What do you smell? Who are you with? Create the future memory emotion. And the more real you make that emotion, the more your whole body starts operating in that energy. It shifts your energy. And when somebody meets you and you're walking in the energy of what you want, that energy will attract people of like energy. You ever meet somebody and you just connect with them right away? Y'all have the same energy. And if you want more out of life, if you want something different out of life, you have to walk in a different energy. And what I'm teaching you today will help you do just that. Okay. You will begin to attract things in your life that are consistent with the results of the energy you are walking with. Okay. Now, we're going to get into this in a much deeper way when we get into the mind and the brain chapter. Let's see. Let me take a look at it. The brain, the mind, and subconscious mind. We're gonna sixth sense. That's what it is. The sixth sense, the brain, and the subconscious mind. Okay. So at the end, we're gonna do those all three as one lesson. All right. And we're going to go into more depth on this, okay? But the idea is you build mental memory muscle. using your intellectual faculty of imagination, programming it through autosuggestion, and then doing the 6 steps of desire, reading that card every single day is really programming it into your subconscious mind. We're creating the energy, we're anchoring the energy, we're moving our body into that energy, and we begin to express that energy in our action. And the expectation is that we're going to create that energy in physical form. The entire process of the law of perpetual transmutation of radiant energy is something that we know we've talked about. These 7 natural laws of the universe, right? It's the way God created the universe. And whether or not you believe in him and whether or not you serve him, if you follow the rules of the universe will work for you. Okay, so if you haven't seen me teach on the 7 laws, the 7 natural laws, look for the bonus Facebook Live I did last year when we taught this class. Okay, so it covers all 7 of them in the deep dive. It should already be in the course. Okay, and if there's enough interest, I'll be happy to do a private session where you can ask your questions about these 7 natural laws, and I can do it. I can teach it again, and in a private session where you can really dig deep. Okay, so just let me know on that. All right. What we want to understand, again, from the simplest part of this chapter in its simplest form, is that you have the ability to think. You have the ability to think. You have been given free will. You can think negative or you can think positive, but whatever you think, whatever you choose to entertain, by law, that idea is expressed in your subconscious mind. You dwell on the negative, it's going to lodge negative in your subconscious mind, and that's a lot of what all you're going to get out of life. Your subconscious mind accepts any idea placed in it as though it were truth and has no ability to reject the idea. It accepts it as truth and will alter your emotional vibration as though it were true. Let me give you an example. I meant to bring one with me. I actually have one in the fridge and I forgot to bring it. So I'm going to just pretend that this is one. Have you ever watched somebody bite into an apple? When you have somebody who has a lemon and they bite into it, how do you feel? Many of us will go, ugh. Our mouth starts to water. We're not eating the lemon. But we have cells of recognition stored in our mind that remember what a lemon is, how sour it tastes. You know it's tart, you know it's sour, you've experienced that before. You see with your physical senses them doing it, and then you imagine what's going on in their mouth. And as you begin to become emotionally involved with what's going on with them, it begins to be expressed through you. You didn't bite into the lemon, but you're cringing anyway. If I had a chalkboard back here and I scratched my nails down it, even if you couldn't hear it, oh, don't we cringe? Okay, here's another one. Okay, let's see if y'all can hear this. Oh, let me turn that up. Play it. Can y'all hear that? We're watching Jaws in a movie theater, air-conditioned movie theater in the summertime, right? You got some soda and some popcorn. There's no sharks, no ocean. You're in the middle of Texas. You are as safe can be. And that music starts up, and then and swim. Well, what are you afraid of? Some of us, the popcorn goes flying. It's a movie. We get so emotionally involved. We will sit in that movie theater. Now, I shouldn't have used that example because I don't actually go to the movie theater anymore. Oh, but we can get sucked in. I do the same thing here at home. We get sucked right in. Our mind experiences as if it was real. Okay, another one. It's like living in Florida. You're out in the water. You see a big shadow. First thing you think of is shark. And even though you're not sure it's a shark, your body experiences it as though it was a shark or a giant jellyfish. Certainly not the big manatee that just wants to come up and give you a kiss, right? And I saw a ton of manatees when I was in Florida. Well, I don't think I saw any on the beach. I saw them on the other side, on the in the brackish water or in the river. But I never saw a shark out in the water or a jellyfish when I lived in Florida, okay? But as soon as we imagine it, boom, it sets our body into this vibrational frequency of shark. You have been given dominion over all things. And think about that as God's promise to you. You have been given free will. You've been given the ability to choose positive or negative. You've been given the ability to choose any thought you want. You've been given dominion over every frequency in the universe, every frequency. If you don't like where you're living right now, at whatever frequency you're on, you can change. Look, you'll never, ever be driving down the road and see a field full of cows. And one of the cows kind of like jumps up on the fence and says, hey, we don't have to be cows anymore. We can be giraffes. Let's change. We can grow and be better. No, they can't. And as far as we know, God only created you and me in his image. And that is to be a causative, creative source. So causative, we impact the world around us. And creative, we create new things. God, when we were made in God's image, God is the creator and you are a creative being and you co-create with the mind of God and you have dominion over everything in God's universe, every single frequency, which means you can at any moment in time choose a better thought. And there's vibrational consequence to the thoughts that you choose. So choose wisely. And this is why you want to get really specific. What do I want? And once we know exactly what it is we want, why do I want it? Why is it so important to me? Because if I know what I want and I know why I want it, I can anchor that emotion into my subconscious mind and I can turn that into the dominant energy that is expressed through my body. And over time, my mind will become a magnet for that frequency and I'll begin to attract the people and the ideas and the conditions and the circumstances that are in harmony with that dominating vibration. And I can at any moment in time choose what that frequency will be and how intense it will be in my life. And unfortunately, so many of us don't even know we have that choice. We just take what happens. We start off and we woke up on the wrong side of the bed. My child is over there sleeping. His head is all like this on the arm of the chair. I told him to go in his room. He didn't go in his room. He's going to wake up with a crick in his neck. Hopefully I'll pray for him. Hopefully he won't. But let's say he wakes up with a crick in his neck and then he'll be like, oh, it's going to be a horrible day. And because he's in the energy of a horrible day, guess what happens? He spills his cereal on himself. And now we're late to school because we got to clean up the floor. Because you can't just leave. Look, you can't just leave that milk sitting on the floor, right? So then we're late to school, and now he can't wear his big new Stephenville thing that he wants to wear. And now the day's gotten even worse. And because he's on that energy, it's just one thing after another. And you say, well, I didn't attract the negativity in my life. I guarantee you, if you are walking around, woe is me, and life is stinks, and I just can't take this anymore, and everybody's against me, your subconscious mind is walking in the energy of life stinks and everybody's against me. And guess what it's going to do? Out of all of the information, out of all the hundreds of thousands of pieces of information that it processes, it's only going to filter up to your conscious mind the things that are aligned with the energy you're choosing to walk in. And if you're choosing to walk in, everybody hates me, that's the only energy that's going to bubble up to your conscious mind. You have programmed your subconscious to return that result to you. That's under your control. And how we control that is through autosuggestion, visualization, reading aloud, journaling, being a part of programs like this, listening to the lessons again and again and again, writing, speaking, writing out your dream, speaking out your dream. Remember, life and death begins in the tongue. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. You're a very powerful creative being, and God designed you and created you to create whatever life it is that you want, preferably in conjunction with his hand, right? To create the abundant life that was threatened by sin. And he sent his son to set you free from, so you could actually enjoy it and have it despite the sins of your fathers and your mothers. To co-create a life in him that breaks you free of generational curses, of poverty, and transforms them into generational legacies of health, power, strength, and wealth. You don't ever have to settle for less. That doesn't mean there's not a price to pay, and it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, and it doesn't mean that everything's going to be always smooth, and it doesn't mean it's not going to require a lot of work, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to fail. You're actually going to fail pretty miserably all the way to success. In fact, if you were making a big old pot of success stew, you know what you would be the first ingredient to your success stew? The first ingredient you would grab would be a jar of failure, and you would give it a double dose. It's a requirement because failure contains the learn. Failure contains the learn. Failure gives us the tools and resources to take the next step to nowhere. It becomes a directional guide. It becomes our GPS. And how do you know if things are right unless you failed a little bit along the way, right? And so this is really kind of as basic as you can get in autosuggestion. And I want to do an exercise. I think we have enough time. I know this lesson's gone way longer than I intended it to, but I think we have time. Okay, I want you to grab a piece of paper. I want you to grab a pen. Go grab a piece of paper and grab a pen. Grab a piece of paper, grab a pen or a pencil or a crayon, okay? I'm right-handed. I'm going to use my dominant hand, my right hand, because I'm right-handed, okay? I want you to sign your name with your dominant hand. The name you normally sign, okay? With your hand that you normally sign it with, okay? I'm right-handed. My big boy's left-handed. I don't remember what my little boy is, but whatever your dominant hand is, okay? Now, we all have a lot of evidence of writing with our dominant hand, okay? So like if I'm doing a book, I've had to train my hand. If I'm writing a book, I use my J's like that, okay? I used to try and do all kinds of things and I could never figure out something good, but this is my signature. I've got a lot of evidence of writing with my dominant hand. So when I try this, when you try this, you intellectually know what the result is going to be. I'm pretty sure that my signature is going to come out like this a little bit, okay? Now, I actually modified it a little bit because I'm showing you this online. I don't want you to duplicate my signature. So I had to practice at that, right? But now, if you switch the hand into the pen into your other hand, I want you to switch the pen in your other hand and do the same thing. So we're knowing that your non-dominant hand, in my case, it's the left hand. You already know. What are some things you already know? You already know this is going to be a lot slower. Oh, goodness, this is horrible. It's going to be a lot slower. It's going to be a lot more confusing, inconvenient, frustrating. And the result is going to be poor and inconsistent, okay? The result is going to be poor and inconsistent. And the interesting thing is, when I first, at 4 years old, picked up a pen or a crayon or whatever it was my mom gave me with my dominant hand and started to learn how to write my name, it was nowhere near as good as it is now. We have gone through a process to learn how to control a pen and how to do it. And over the years, we've taken that time to develop this programmed information, right, into our subconscious. It became a habit. And now we do it without even thinking. You don't even have to look at the paper to just sign your name with your dominant hand. You're doing a conscious action that's in harmony with the habit. So in the subconscious, then it's effortless and you can do it very naturally and speedily and fast without thinking. You can do it while you're thinking of something else. Boom, just write your name. But if the conscious action is not in harmony, now I've switched to my non-dominant hand. If that conscious action is not in harmony with that programmed information, then you need to think about every bit of it. And that takes longer. It's tougher. Okay? Another example is I don't wear a watch because I'm allergic to cheap metal, and I've just over the years gotten a habit of not wearing a watch. And now phones have watches, so I don't nearly need one as much as I used to. Although maybe I'll get a smartwatch, But if you wear a watch on your left hand and you take it off and you put it on your right hand, you're going to find something that, probably within a few minutes, you're going to be looking at the hand that doesn't have a watch to see what the time was. And intellectually, you knew you took the watch off. And you know that you put it on the other hand, but it's the subconscious conditioning that takes over when it's a habit. See, it's the subconscious programming that takes over when it's a habit. It's a conscious action, something we're saying, right? Because we can control our behavior with our conscious mind, right? or I'm going to do this deliberately. I'm putting it on the other hand, right? But when we're not doing that, when we're not actively thinking about it, then it's controlled by habit. And it doesn't have to be a conscious action. A habit is controlled by your subconscious. It's created this learning system of watches on this hand. And now habitually, by habit, you're looking at this hand, even though intellectually you know you moved it to this hand. Okay, so this can be a conscious thought, something that we're thinking. It can be a conscious thought, and it can be a belief. It can be something that we believe, right? This is this automatic thinking. We can believe, okay, I believe the Lord spoke to me and said I was going to make $150 million and I was going to change communities. Okay, I can think that thought. But if I don't repeat that thought enough, it never gets to the habit point where I walk in the thought. And this is the process. The process of autosuggestion is, rather than just letting go of this because it doesn't match and letting go of the dream because it's uncomfortable, autosuggestion is continually upgrading this information. You know, we're not replacing all the information in our subconscious. We're just replacing some of the beliefs that are stopping us from moving forward in the direction that we want to go. And that's the process of autosuggestion. That's what you are doing. And honestly, I don't know if it ever all truly goes away. I remember giving my life to the Lord for real. You know, not just the little sprinkle they did when I was a kid. And you know, I thought I was okay with the man upstairs, right? But when I gave my life to the Lord for real, and the Holy Spirit came in and took away, just took away certain things, took away a whole lot of my self-hatred, and I've never had to fight with that again. The things that the Lord took away from me that day that he saved my soul, I didn't even know to expect that, because that was not my religious understanding back then. But when he saved me, he took certain things away, and I've never had to fight with them again. But there are other things that come up at unexpected moments. Perhaps because the enemy has really learned how to fight us according to our personality, or maybe I need to continue growing closer to the Lord. I'm not sure. I don't know. But what I do know is that I must allow him to have his complete work. And part of how he works is through autosuggestion, reprogramming your mind by reading the scriptures daily, praying the scriptures daily, assembling together as often as it takes. The preacher will tell you to do these things to create new beliefs and establish new patterns. And they may not even know what it is you're actually doing. They just may know that it works. And what we've covered today is kind of the science behind why it works. Okay. When you speak the word of God over your life, when you listen to music that invokes the emotion of salvation and trust in the Lord, when you're caught up in the energy of the testimonies of the people you're listening to, you are literally reprogramming your mind to accept the good and accept the word of the Lord. It is the same with attracting abundance into your life. I'm going to give you another example. If you believe that every black woman over 40 is going to be obese and have diabetes and have heart problems, or if you believe that only the lucky few have good health into their 90s, then your subconscious is never going to help you with the fight to maintain your health, because it's hopeless. It's already hopeless. And your subconscious will do what it needs to do to sabotage you on trying to do anything else, because it wants to protect you from spending time, energy, and strength on something that's hopeless. And I'm not just saying this because we have a new sponsor, jjclink.com/make. If you feel like your fitness is hopeless, then you can go out to jjclink.com/make, and you can try out these new bioavailable peptides. It's the first product of its kind. And it's created with the research of AI using all natural resources. It's fantastic. But I already had this in my lesson plan before I found out about make wellness. Okay. But we say, oh, I'm gonna wake up early and I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna work out, and then that alarm comes off and your subconscious be like, we've been through this before. She's gonna get all excited for 3 weeks. She's gonna spend all this money on cute gym gear, and then she's gonna go for 3 weeks and she's never gonna go again, because she's gonna pull a muscle on the elliptical and she's just never gonna go back. And so we already know where this is going. We gonna stop this right now. We gonna nip this in the bud. And that's an emotional thing that's taking a toll on our conscious decision that we want to improve our health. Okay, it is so powerful. I hope you get this tonight. Okay, and that's why I really opened up this lesson to everyone. It was supposed to be a private lesson, and I kept feeling so strongly that these concepts are really needed by God's people, and I want God's people to break free of what's been holding you back for years. I was in the ministry for years, bound by a faulty belief system. It's the one time the preacher can legit talk about BS, right? The faulty belief systems. And we're bound by these belief systems because we don't know we can legit overcome them. It's like the difference between all dogs are dangerous and all dogs can be dangerous. I got bit by a dog after crossing the street, which I wasn't supposed to do at 4 years old, and I believed that all dogs were dangerous. There's an enormous difference between those two statements. One closes you off to all dog experiences. It keeps you safe. Sure, I never got bit again, right? But at what cost? The other phrase, all dogs can be dangerous, makes you cautious and allows you to still live and experience the goodness of some dogs. You're no longer bound by a fear of dogs, you know? So it could be a minor detail, but it could have a major impact on your life. These belief systems. We need to get rid of all that faulty BS belief systems in our head. So now look, you sound like this. You better include the whole passage so people don't think I'm cussing. Now look, I know this program is power packed. It gives you a lot to think about. I know some of you are like, oh my goodness, this was a lot to consider and marinate on. All right. So if you don't already have lifetime access to these lessons, go ahead and go to jjclink.com/TAGR5. That's for Think and Grow Rich 5. It's the 5th year we've been teaching it. And I know in the past I've left a lot of things up on my Facebook or YouTube or anything like that. But lately we've been pulling them down because my storage is getting full. And so now different companies are putting limits on how much I can store. So, you know, go out there and get the access, the lifetime access. You get a downloadable MP3 once all this is processed, and you'll get the handouts. You'll get all the other lessons. You'll get 2 of my personal auto suggestions as a bonus. Okay, for those of you who were on last week, I told you about them. I had enough interest, so I'm moving forward on that. They're processing. They should be up before I finish the class. Okay, the first is my confession list. It's a list of scriptures that I speak over my life about what I aspire to be. And I created it back when I had a hard time praying for 2 hours at noon prayer, and I needed something spiritual to fill the time. I know. I'm just telling on myself all kinds of ways today. All right. I got the idea from Joyce Myers, actually. And it's basically a list of scriptures, and I speak those scriptures over my life. I still take sessions where I speak those scriptures over my life to remind myself of what it is that I feel God has called me to become. And so many of those that weren't true back when I started doing this, they are true today. The other bonus you're going to get is From Here to There. It's a collection of quotes collected by one of my former mentors who helped me start my business. He would listen to them as he drove around from here to there. That's where the title came from. And he was utilizing this process of autosuggestion to reprogram his mind. Okay. So I want you to get that as well. And if you have the time now or soon, I want you to get that access and then go listen to the lesson on faith. The whole lesson on faith is going to be elevated for you now that you've heard this. It's like, I needed to establish your faith before you heard this, but then I also needed you to hear this to get the most out of the faith lesson. So, I mean, and all the lessons are like that. Faith, desire, I mean, really all of them. Just go back and listen to any of the ones that we've done, and now it's going to come alive. And the reason it'll come alive is because of autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is the gift that keeps on giving. All right. So that's jjclink.com/tagger5. You're going to save $400 on this life-changing content if you do that tonight. And let's see. One of the things, just before I'm going to close, but I want to make sure you understand part of how this works is because now you have cells of awareness. See, when you first heard the lessons, you didn't have any cells of recognition. So now that you've already heard it a little bit, you have cells of recognition. And every time you hear it again, you're building on top of what you've already learned. You are layering the learning. And that's also part of the autosuggestive process. Okay. So remember, There are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought. So if my thought is going to bear fruit, then I want it to be the abundant fruit that my Savior promised me, the abundant life that he came to give me. John 10:10 says, the thief cometh not but for to steal, to kill, and destroy. But I'm come that they might have life and they might have it more abundantly. Okay. Also, Mark 10:29, because I know some of you watching are gonna be like, you shouldn't be teaching about building wealth. Mark 10:29-30 says, Jesus answered and said, verily I say unto you, there is no man that have left house or brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my sake in the gospels, but he shall receive 100-fold now in this time, houses and brethren and sisters and mothers and children and lands with persecution, and in the world to come, eternal life. My purpose is to equip God's people to walk in abundance here and prepare for eternity there. I am JJ Conway, and I want to thank you for joining me. You can connect with me at JJ Knows the Way. And remember, the only reason I can show you the way is because I have a real relationship with the way. And I'd love to tell you more about that someday. So reach out to me. Let's chat someday. Take care. Be blessed. I'm so happy that y'all were on today. Have a great night and a blessed week.